The sun had just begun to rise over the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the dusty plains of the Wild West. Nayeli, a young Apache girl, sat quietly near the edge of her village, her eyes following the trail of a lone rider approaching from the horizon. She had always been curious about the world beyond her settlement, and the sight of a stranger on horseback stirred a mixture of excitement and caution in her heart. Her people lived a life close to nature, guided by traditions passed down from their ancestors, and outsiders were rare and often unpredictable. The rider, a tall man with a wide-brimmed hat and weathered clothes, moved with the confidence of someone who had traveled many miles. His horse was strong and steady, and the faint glint of sunlight on the metal of his belt and tools suggested he was both practical and prepared for the hardships of frontier life. Nayeli felt a strange pull in her chest as she watched him draw closer. Something about his presence seemed different from the other men who occasionally passed through their lands. There was a calm strength in him, a quiet respect for the world around him that made her curious. Nayeli's mother had always told her to be cautious of strangers. "Not all who ride into our land carry kindness," she would say. Nayeli understood this, but she also understood the way her heart leaned toward curiosity. She had grown up listening to stories of brave men and women who had crossed vast distances to help those in need or to discover new lives. Maybe, she thought, this rider could be one of those people. The man finally slowed as he neared the village. He dismounted gracefully, tying his horse to a nearby post. He looked around, taking in the small adobe huts, the few children playing near the fire, and the elders tending to their daily chores. His gaze was careful, respectful, as if he did not want to disturb the peace of this place. Nayeli noticed that he carried no weapons drawn, no sign of aggression. He simply observed, waiting for a sign that he was welcome. Nayeli's curiosity got the better of her. She stepped out from her hiding spot behind a cluster of bushes, her small feet careful not to snap the dry twigs beneath her. The man turned his head slightly, as if sensing her presence even before he saw her. Their eyes met. And in that moment, Nayeli felt a strange connection, as if he could see the questions and thoughts swirling in her mind. She hesitated, unsure if she should approach, but something about his calm demeanor gave her courage. "Hello," he said softly, tipping his hat in a polite gesture. His voice was gentle, yet carried the authority of someone who had faced many challenges and survived. "I mean no harm. My name is Jackson. I am just passing through." Nayeli nodded, still cautious but intrigued. "I am Nayeli," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the curiosity in his eyes, but there was also a kindness that made her feel safe enough to stay near. Jackson smiled faintly, as if understanding the unspoken tension of meeting someone from a world so different from his own. Over the next few hours, Nayeli observed Jackson as he went about simple tasks. He gathered water from the nearby stream, helped an elder repair a broken fence, and even offered to assist the children in carrying firewood. He did not impose himself. He did not seek attention. Instead, he worked quietly, with patience and skill. Nayeli found herself drawn to his presence, fascinated by the way he moved through the village without disturbing its rhythm. As the day passed, Nayeli noticed the subtle ways he tried to communicate without words. He offered a kind smile to the elder, who struggled with the heavy load of wood. He adjusted the horse's reins carefully, speaking softly to the animal so it would not panic. He respected the boundaries of her people, asking permission before entering spaces he did not know. Nayeli's heart swelled with admiration. This was not the brash, careless stranger she had expected. This was someone who could be trusted. That evening, the sky turned shades of orange and purple as the sun began to set. The villagers gathered around the central fire, sharing stories of the day and singing songs that echoed across the plains. Nayeli sat quietly at the edge of the group, stealing glances at Jackson, who seemed equally mesmerized by the simple beauty of the village life. She noticed how he listened intently, nodding occasionally, never interrupting, never dismissing. His respect for their culture was evident, and it made her feel that perhaps this stranger could become more than just a passing figure in her life. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Nayeli finally found the courage to approach Jackson. She walked slowly, feeling the soft earth beneath her feet and listening to the distant howl of a coyote. When she reached him, she hesitated, unsure of what to say. Jackson looked at her and smiled warmly. "You have a quiet courage about you," he said. "It is not easy to trust someone you have just met." Nayeli's eyes met his, and she felt a spark of understanding. "I watch, and I learn," she said simply. "You are different from the others. You do not seem afraid, but you are not reckless." Jackson nodded. "I have learned that the world is harsh, but respect and patience can make it better. Sometimes, just listening is the bravest thing a person can do." For a long while, they sat in silence, watching the flickering flames of the fire. Nayeli thought about the stories her grandmother had told her of travelers who came and went, leaving marks on the hearts of those they touched. She wondered if Jackson would leave a mark too, and if that mark would be a promise of protection, friendship, or something even deeper. Days turned into weeks, and Jackson remained near the village, helping when needed and always respectful of the boundaries of Nayeli's people. Their encounters became moments of learning and understanding. Nayeli began to share small pieces of her life with him, the songs of her people, the stories of the mountains, and the simple joys of living close to the earth. Jackson shared stories of the wide-open plains, of distant towns and the people he had met along his journeys. Through these exchanges, a bond began to form. One built on mutual respect, curiosity, and the quiet understanding of each other's worlds. Nayeli found herself thinking about Jackson more than she expected. She admired his courage and his gentle way of moving through life. She wondered if he, too, felt the same pull, the same curiosity and care that she felt in her heart. Though the days were filled with work and the routines of village life, there was a sense of anticipation in Nayeli's heart whenever she saw Jackson approaching. She began to imagine a world where their lives could intertwine, where trust and respect could bridge the gap between their two very different worlds. And though she did not yet know what the future would hold, she felt a quiet hope that perhaps this stranger could become a part of her life in ways that would change everything. As night fell over the Wild West, the stars shimmering like tiny lanterns across the sky, Nayeli lay awake in her small dwelling, thinking of Jackson. She remembered his gentle smile, the way he listened, and the quiet strength in his eyes. She wondered if he, too, was thinking of her, wondering if their meeting was a fleeting coincidence or the beginning of something much larger. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scents of the earth and the distant mountains. Nayeli closed her eyes, letting the sounds and smells surround her, feeling both the safety of her home and the excitement of the unknown. Tomorrow would bring new moments, new lessons, and perhaps new choices. And somewhere deep in her heart, she knew that this encounter with Jackson was only the beginning of a story that neither of them could yet fully imagine, a story that would challenge them, teach them, and perhaps even unite them in ways the Wild West had never seen before. The days that followed brought a new rhythm to Nayeli's life. She had grown used to Jackson's presence near the village, and while the other villagers remained cautious of the stranger, Nayeli felt a sense of comfort when he was near. Jackson did not impose himself on anyone. He offered help only when it was needed and never overstepped boundaries. This patience and respect fascinated Nayeli. She began to see that he was not just a traveler passing through, he was someone who truly understood the weight of trust and the fragility of human connection in a world as harsh as the Wild West. Each morning, Nayeli would wake early to help her mother with daily chores. The village was small, and every task mattered, from gathering water to preparing meals, tending to the small animals, and maintaining the dwellings. Jackson often joined in, lending a hand without making a show of it. Nayeli watched as he learned the routines of the Apache people, adapting quickly and carefully. He asked questions politely, never rushing or demanding answers. Nayeli admired this about him. In her young heart, she began to feel a quiet respect that slowly deepened into something more. One morning, Jackson approached Nayeli as she carried a basket of freshly gathered berries. "Good morning, Nayeli," he said, his voice calm and friendly. "Would you mind if I help you with that?" Nayeli paused, then smiled. "Thank you, Jackson. I would like that." She handed him the basket, and together, they walked toward her mother's dwelling. Along the way, Jackson listened attentively as Nayeli spoke about the different plants, their uses, and the stories associated with them. He asked questions, not out of curiosity alone, but because he wanted to understand and honor the traditions of her people. Nayeli felt a warmth in her chest, a feeling she had never experienced before. As the days passed, Nayeli and Jackson spent more time together. Sometimes they worked side by side, tending to the village's small garden or helping repair fences. Other times, they simply walked along the riverbank, observing the wildlife and sharing stories. Jackson spoke of the vast lands he had traveled, of distant towns and mountains, of people he had met and helped along the way. Nayeli listened with wide eyes, imagining a world far beyond the plains she had always known. In return, Nayeli shared stories of her people, tales of courage, survival, and the deep connection they had with the land. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the village, Nayeli and Jackson sat on a small hill overlooking the plains. The air was warm, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Nayeli spoke of her dreams, her hopes for the future, and the desire to see more of the world without leaving the safety of her people behind. Jackson listened, nodding thoughtfully. "You have a wise heart, Nayeli," he said softly. "Even at your age, you understand so much about life, about people, and about what it means to care for others. It is rare to meet someone who sees the world with such clarity and kindness." Nayeli blushed slightly, feeling both shy and proud. "I learn from my family, from our traditions, and I learn from you too. You have seen so much. I want to understand your world, but I also want to share mine with you." Jackson smiled, reaching out to gently place a hand on hers. "And that is what makes this bond special. We can teach each other, protect each other, and perhaps, in time, trust each other completely. The world may be harsh, Nayeli, but together, we can face it." Their connection grew stronger with each passing day. Nayeli found herself looking forward to Jackson's visits. And Jackson, too, seemed drawn to her presence. It was not just friendship. It was a bond built on respect, trust, and the quiet understanding that they could rely on each other in a world full of uncertainty. Yet, both were aware of the challenges that lay ahead. Their cultures were different, and their worlds had rules and expectations that could not be ignored. One evening, as the village prepared for a small gathering to celebrate a successful harvest, Nayeli noticed Jackson helping an elder carry heavy sacks of grain. He worked tirelessly, but with care, ensuring that nothing was damaged. Nayeli felt a swell of admiration for him. She realized that bravery was not only about facing danger, it was also about showing kindness and respect, even in the simplest actions. After the work was done, Nayeli and Jackson found a quiet spot away from the others. The sky was painted with shades of pink and gold, and the distant mountains glowed softly in the fading light. Nayeli sat down on a large rock, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Jackson joined her, sitting quietly beside her. For a while, they simply watched the sunset, letting the silence speak for them. "Nayeli," Jackson finally said, his voice gentle, "I have traveled many miles and met many people, but none have touched my heart the way you have. You are brave, wise, and kind. Being near you, it feels like I have found a place where I truly belong, even if only for a short time." Nayeli's heart raced. She had hoped he felt the same, Yet hearing him say it aloud made the feeling real. "Jackson, I feel the same," she whispered. "You make this place brighter. You make me feel safe and understood." The following days brought new challenges. A group of travelers passed through the plains, and their presence stirred tension in the village. Some villagers were nervous, unsure if these newcomers could be trusted. Jackson, however, stepped in to mediate, using his calm demeanor and experience to ease fears. Nayeli watched him, amazed by his ability to handle delicate situations without anger or force. She realized that his strength was not in weapons or size, but in his understanding, patience, and ability to see the best in people. Through these events, Nayeli began to see Jackson not just as a visitor or helper, but as someone who could be a part of her life in ways she had never imagined. She found herself thinking about him during quiet moments, wondering if he, too, thought of her. Their conversations grew deeper, filled with shared dreams, fears, and hopes. Nayeli felt a sense of belonging she had never felt before, and she wondered if Jackson felt it too. One night, as the village settled under a blanket of stars, Nayeli lay awake, thinking about the days spent with Jackson. She remembered the way he listened, the way he respected her people, and the way he made her feel seen. She realized that her feelings had grown beyond admiration. They were feelings of trust, care, and something even more profound. She did not yet know what the future held, but she felt a quiet hope that their bond could endure, despite the challenges that might come. Jackson, in turn, spent his nights reflecting on the same thoughts. He had always valued freedom and independence, yet Nayeli had awakened in him a longing for connection and belonging he had not expected. He admired her courage, her wisdom, and the gentle strength with which she faced life. He understood that the bond forming between them was delicate, but also precious. A connection worth protecting and nurturing. Days turned into weeks, and the seasons began to shift. Nayeli and Jackson continued to grow closer, sharing moments of joy, learning, and understanding. They laughed together, faced small challenges together, and discovered a mutual respect that strengthened with each passing day. Nayeli began to imagine a future where their worlds could coexist, where trust and care could bridge the gap between her people and the outsider who had captured her heart. And so, life in the Wild West continued, filled with both uncertainty and hope. Nayeli's days were busy with the routines of her village, yet they were also filled with the quiet excitement of a bond that was slowly, but surely, taking root. Jackson's presence was no longer that of a stranger, it was a part of her daily life, a source of inspiration, comfort, and courage. Together, they navigated the challenges of their world, discovering that friendship, respect, and understanding could create a foundation strong enough to withstand even the harshest winds of the frontier. As the sun set on another day, Nayeli stood on the hill overlooking the plains, thinking of the moments shared, the lessons learned, and the bond growing stronger between her and Jackson. She knew the future held uncertainties, but she also knew that, together, they could face whatever came their way. And deep in her heart, a quiet hope blossomed. A hope that their story was only beginning, and that the days ahead would bring adventures, challenges, and perhaps a love that could transcend the boundaries of the Wild West. The peace that had settled over the village began to feel fragile as the sun climbed higher in the sky one morning. Nayeli had awakened with a sense of unease, a feeling she could not explain. The wind carried a tension she had never noticed before, rustling the trees and making the distant plains seem restless. She went about her daily chores, but her thoughts kept returning to Jackson. She hoped that he, too, sensed the subtle change in the air, the quiet warning that something was coming. Jackson had noticed it too. As he prepared his horse for a morning ride, he scanned the horizon with sharp, watchful eyes. His instincts, honed from years of traveling the Wild West, told him that trouble was near. He did not want to alarm the villagers, especially Nayeli, who had grown to trust him so completely. He quietly finished his tasks and walked toward the village, keeping a careful watch on the edges of the plains. By midday, the source of the unease became clear. A band of outlaws appeared on the horizon, their horses kicking up clouds of dust as they rode with reckless speed. They were known in nearby towns for raiding settlements, taking what they wanted and leaving chaos in their wake. Nayeli's heart pounded in her chest as she watched them approach. The villagers, though brave and strong, were few in number and ill-prepared to face such danger. Fear spread quickly, and whispers of worry filled the air. Jackson stepped forward calmly, though his mind raced. He knew he could not allow these outlaws to harm the village or its people. Nayeli watched as he moved among the villagers, giving instructions quietly but confidently. "Bring the children and elders to the shelter near the hill," he said. "Keep them safe. I will handle the rest." His voice carried authority without harshness, and the villagers obeyed, trusting the man they had come to respect. Nayeli felt a mixture of fear and admiration, fear for the danger approaching, and admiration for Jackson's courage and leadership. The outlaws reached the edge of the village, shouting threats and brandishing weapons. Jackson stepped forward to confront them, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with their anger and aggression. He spoke firmly, but without raising his voice. "This village is under my protection. Leave now, and no harm will come to you. Stay, and there will be consequences." The leader of the outlaws sneered, clearly unaccustomed to being challenged. "Who are you to stop us? This land is open for anyone brave enough to take it," he shouted. Jackson's eyes remained steady. "I am someone who believes that stealing and harming others is wrong. You have a choice to leave peacefully or face the consequences of your actions." For a tense moment, the outlaws hesitated. Jackson's confidence, his calm yet firm presence, seemed to throw them off. Nayeli watched, holding her breath, as he subtly signaled to the villagers to stay back, keeping them safe while he prepared to act if needed. The standoff lasted only a few minutes, but it felt like hours to Nayeli, who had never witnessed such courage before. When it became clear that the outlaws were not intimidated by words alone, Jackson acted swiftly. Using both strategy and skill, he managed to create distractions, guiding the outlaws away from the village and into the open plains, where their horses became entangled in rough terrain. Nayeli's heart raced as she saw Jackson maneuver with precision, avoiding harm while leading the threat away. His bravery was undeniable, and she felt a surge of gratitude and admiration for the man who risked his life to protect her and her people. After the danger had passed, the villagers slowly emerged from their shelters. The outlaws, realizing they could not win, had retreated into the distance, leaving the village unharmed. Nayeli ran to Jackson, her eyes wide with relief and awe. "Jackson, you saved us. I was so afraid." Jackson smiled, though tired and dusty from the confrontation. "It's over now. Everyone is safe. That is what matters." He looked around at the villagers, who were beginning to recover from the shock, and nodded reassuringly. "Your village is strong, and so are you. But sometimes, it takes more than strength. It takes courage, quick thinking, and trust in one another." Nayeli felt tears prick at her eyes. She had always known Jackson was brave, but seeing him act in such a dangerous situation made her feelings for him even stronger. She realized that trust and admiration had grown into something deeper, something she had never experienced before. Her heart beat faster, and she felt a quiet longing to express the feelings she had kept hidden. That evening, as the village gathered to tend to minor damages and recover from the day's events, Nayeli approached Jackson. The sky was painted in soft shades of orange and purple, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of the plains. Nayeli's voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "Jackson, I saw what you did today." Jackson looked at her, his eyes kind and steady. "I did what anyone who cares for others would do. You and your people are important. You deserve safety and peace. Nayeli hesitated, then took a deep breath. Jackson, if I please you tonight, will you keep me forever? Her words were soft, almost a whisper, yet filled with the weight of her feelings and the hope she carried. She did not know what the future would hold, but in that moment, she wanted him to know the depth of her trust and the longing in her heart. Jackson was momentarily taken aback, understanding both the innocence and the gravity of her question. He could see the sincerity in her eyes, the mixture of hope, fear, and vulnerability. He gently placed a hand on hers, a reassuring gesture. Nayeli, your trust means more to me than I can express. I promise to protect you, to respect you, and to stand by your side. But what matters most is that we honor each other and the bond we are building. That bond can grow stronger every day if we are careful and patient. Nayeli's eyes shone with relief and gratitude. She nodded, feeling the warmth of his words. She realized that love and trust were not just about immediate promises. They were about respect, patience, and the willingness to face challenges together. Jackson's response gave her hope, a sense of security that she had never known before. In the days that followed, the village slowly returned to its normal rhythm. The scare from the outlaws had left its mark, but it had also brought the villagers closer together. They recognized Jackson's courage and the protection he had provided, and Nayeli felt proud to know him and trust him. Their bond, forged in moments of shared danger and quiet understanding, grew stronger with each passing day. Nayeli and Jackson continued to spend time together, learning from one another and sharing stories of their worlds. Nayeli spoke of her people's traditions, the ways they celebrated life and survived hardships, and Jackson shared his experiences traveling the frontier, teaching her about the wide world beyond their plains. Their conversations were filled with laughter, curiosity, and a growing sense of partnership. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank, Jackson spoke softly. Nayeli, life on the frontier is never easy. There will be challenges, dangers, and decisions we cannot foresee. But I want you to know that, whatever comes, we will face it together. Your courage inspires me, and your trust strengthens me. Nayeli felt her heart swell. And your courage inspires me, Jackson. You showed me that bravery is not just about strength. It's about protecting what matters, even when it is difficult. You make me believe that we can face anything together. The bond between them was no longer just admiration or curiosity. It had become a connection of hearts, built on shared experiences, mutual respect, and the recognition that they could rely on one another in a world that often seemed uncertain. The events with the outlaws had tested their courage and trust, and they had emerged stronger, more united, and more aware of the feelings growing between them. As night fell over the village, Nayeli stood on a small hill, gazing at the stars. She thought of the day's events, of Jackson's bravery, and of the promise of protection and trust he had given her. She realized that the bond they shared was rare and precious, something worth nurturing and protecting. In her heart, she felt a quiet hope that their story was only beginning, that together they could face whatever challenges the Wild West had in store, and that the connection they had forged in moments of danger could grow into something lasting and true. The days after the outlaws had retreated were filled with a quiet tension. While the immediate danger had passed, the village and Nayeli could not forget how close they had come to disaster. Jackson remained near the settlement, assisting with repairs, tending to animals, and helping the villagers regain a sense of normalcy. Nayeli observed him carefully, noticing the quiet determination in his actions, the careful attention to detail, and the unwavering patience he showed to everyone around him. She admired him more than ever, realizing that bravery was not only in facing danger, but in facing it with wisdom, calm, and care for others. As the days passed, the bond between Nayeli and Jackson deepened. They spent hours walking along the plains, sharing stories, and learning about each other's worlds. Nayeli spoke of the mountains, the rivers, and the ancient traditions of her people. Jackson shared tales of distant towns, bustling markets, and the challenges of living as a traveler on the frontier. Through these conversations, they found comfort in one another's company, their respect for each other growing stronger with every shared moment. One afternoon, while gathering firewood near the edge of the village, Nayeli and Jackson noticed smoke rising in the distance. Panic surged through Nayeli's chest as she realized that another group of travelers, or perhaps troublemakers, was approaching. She felt a familiar fear, but this time, she also felt a deep trust in Jackson. "Jackson, do you think it's danger again?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jackson glanced toward the smoke, his expression calm yet serious. "We will find out soon enough. Whatever it is, we will face it together. You are not alone, Nayeli." He reached out, taking her hand gently, and she felt a warmth and reassurance that calmed her fears. As the source of the smoke grew closer, it became clear that this was not a threat, but a group of weary travelers seeking shelter. They were poor, hungry, and tired from their long journey across the harsh plains. Nayeli and Jackson quickly moved to help them, offering food, water, and blankets. The villagers, guided by Jackson's calm leadership, welcomed the travelers cautiously, ensuring their safety while tending to their own community's needs. Nayeli watched Jackson work tirelessly, helping the newcomers without sacrificing the well-being of her people. She felt a surge of admiration and affection for him. That evening, as the village settled and the travelers rested, Nayeli and Jackson found a quiet spot away from the others. The stars were bright in the sky, reflecting in the gentle flow of the river nearby. Nayeli's heart felt full, yet heavy with unspoken questions. She turned to Jackson, her eyes searching his. "Jackson, do you think we could have a life together, even with our differences?" Jackson took a deep breath, considering his words carefully. "Nayeli, our worlds are different. Yes, but our bond is strong. Respect, trust, and care are more important than the rules of the world outside. If we are careful, patient, and honest with each other, I believe we can face any challenge together." Nayeli felt her heart swell. She had hoped for such an answer, yet hearing it aloud made the possibility feel real. "I trust you, Jackson," she whispered. "I trust you with my heart, with my life." Jackson gently held her hands. "And I will honor that trust, Nayeli. You have given me something rare, a connection that goes beyond words, beyond fear. We will face the future together, and no matter what comes, I will stand by your side." The next few days were filled with preparations and small adventures. Jackson helped train some of the villagers in basic self-defense, teaching them to handle themselves in case of danger. Nayeli observed and sometimes participated, her admiration for Jackson growing with every lesson. She saw that bravery was not just about fighting. It was about teaching, protecting, and inspiring others. Jackson's presence brought confidence to the villagers, and Nayeli felt a deep sense of pride that he was part of their community. One evening, after a long day of work and teaching, Nayeli and Jackson sat on a hill overlooking the plains. The sky was painted in deep shades of red and purple, the wind carrying the scent of wildflowers and the distant mountains. Nayeli leaned slightly toward Jackson, feeling a mix of nervousness and hope. "Jackson, I need to know. Will you always be here? Even when the world is uncertain?" Jackson looked into her eyes, his gaze steady and filled with sincerity. "I cannot promise that the world will always be safe or easy, Nayeli, but I can promise that I will always do my best to protect you, to stand by you, and to care for you. That is my choice, and my heart will not waver." Nayeli felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the depth of his words. She realized that her love for Jackson had grown beyond admiration and trust, It was a bond of hearts, a connection that could withstand the trials of life in the Wild West. She leaned closer, resting her head against his shoulder, feeling the strength and warmth of his presence. The coming weeks tested their bond in unexpected ways. A sudden storm swept across the plains, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The village worked together to secure their homes, protect their animals, and keep the travelers safe. Nayeli and Jackson moved side by side, their teamwork seamless. Nayeli saw Jackson's unwavering calm, his ability to lead without dominating, and his skill in handling crisis situations. Each challenge strengthened their trust, their reliance on one another, and their growing love. During quiet moments, they would speak softly about the future, sharing dreams and hopes. Nayeli imagined exploring more of the world beyond the village, learning new skills, and teaching others what she knew. Jackson spoke of traveling with her, discovering new towns, helping those in need, and creating a life filled with purpose and connection. Their visions aligned, and the bond they had formed seemed unbreakable. One evening, as the sky darkened and the stars began to appear, Nayeli turned to Jackson with a quiet intensity in her eyes. "Jackson, I am ready. I trust you completely. I want to be with you, no matter what challenges come. Will you take this step with me?" Jackson looked at her, feeling the weight and beauty of the moment. He reached out, holding her hands gently, and smiled. "Nayeli, I will. Together, we will face the world, with respect, love, and courage. We will honor each other and the bond we share." They sat together in silence for a long time, watching the stars and feeling the quiet strength of their connection. In that moment, they understood that their bond was not just about protection or trust, it was about partnership, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to face the challenges of life together. The days that followed were filled with preparation for the uncertain future. Nayeli and Jackson worked together to strengthen the village's defenses, teach the people new skills, and ensure the safety of everyone under their care. Their teamwork was seamless, their understanding of one another deepening with each shared task. Nayeli felt a sense of pride and belonging she had never known before. Jackson felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment, knowing that he was protecting and standing by someone he deeply cared for. Through storms, challenges, and quiet moments of reflection, Nayeli and Jackson's bond continued to grow. They learned that true courage was not just facing danger, it was the willingness to trust, to care, and to honor one another through every hardship. Their love and respect became a guiding force for the village, inspiring hope and strength in all who witnessed it. As the sun set on another day, Nayeli and Jackson stood on a hill, looking out over the vast plains. The wind carried the scents of wildflowers and the distant mountains, and the sky glowed with shades of orange, pink, and purple. Nayeli felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that they had faced challenges together and emerged stronger. She turned to Jackson, her eyes filled with trust and love. "Jackson," she whispered, "whatever comes next, we will face it together. Always." Jackson nodded, holding her close. "Always, Nayeli. Together, no matter what." In that quiet moment, under the vast sky of the Wild West, they understood that their bond had been tested, strengthened, and affirmed. The challenges they faced had only made them stronger, and the love and respect they shared would guide them through whatever the future held. Their story was far from over, but they were ready to face it together, with courage, patience, and a deep, unshakable trust in one another. The months that followed were marked by a quiet sense of harmony and purpose. Nayeli and Jackson had grown inseparable, their bond stronger than ever. Together, they worked to make the village not only safe but thriving. Jackson had gained the full trust of the Apache people, not as an outsider, but as someone who genuinely cared for them and respected their traditions. Nayeli, in turn, found in Jackson a partner who shared her values, dreams, and hopes for a better life, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. Each morning, Nayeli woke with a sense of anticipation and gratitude, Life was still challenging in the Wild West. The sun was harsh, the plains unpredictable, and danger always a possibility. But the presence of Jackson at her side made everything seem more manageable. They spent their days together, tending the land, helping the villagers with daily chores, and guiding the younger children in learning important skills. Nailee's admiration for Jackson deepened with each passing day as she observed his patience, kindness, and willingness to put others before himself. The villagers, initially wary of Jackson, had come to see him as a protector, a teacher, and a friend. He had shown that strength was not measured by force alone, but by courage, wisdom, and the ability to inspire others. Nayeli often watched him from a distance, noting the gentle way he guided the younger boys and girls, or the careful attention he gave to elders as he helped repair structures. She felt proud to know him, but even more, she felt safe. Jackson was not just a guardian in the physical sense, he was someone who strengthened hearts, calmed fears, and gave hope where there had been uncertainty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, Nayeli and Jackson sat together on a hill, overlooking the plains. The wind was gentle, carrying the scent of wildflowers and the distant mountains. Nayeli rested her head against Jackson's shoulder, feeling the steady warmth of his presence. "Jackson," she whispered, "I never imagined my life could feel this full, this safe, and this happy. You've changed everything for me." Jackson smiled, his eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. "Nayeli, you've changed me too. You've shown me what it means to care for someone, to belong somewhere, and to trust completely. I never thought I would find a place where I truly feel at home, and you've given me that gift." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun disappear and the stars begin to appear. The vastness of the Wild West stretched before them, a reminder of both the beauty and the challenges of life in this rugged land. Yet, together, they felt capable of facing anything. Nayeli's heart swelled with gratitude and love. She knew that the bond they shared was rare and precious, something that could withstand time, distance, and danger. The following weeks brought new opportunities for the village. Jackson helped establish trade routes with neighboring settlements, ensuring that the Apache people had access to essential supplies while maintaining their independence and traditions. Nayeli worked alongside him, learning the intricacies of negotiation, planning, and leadership. The villagers benefited not only from their practical skills, but from the example of their dedication, courage, and partnership. Through this work, Nayeli and Jackson strengthened not just their own bond, but the bonds of the community as a whole. One afternoon, while repairing a fence near the river, Nayeli paused and looked at Jackson. "Do you think our lives will always be like this? Peaceful, safe, and together?" she asked, a trace of worry in her voice. Jackson wiped the sweat from his brow and took her hand. "Life will never be without challenges, Nayeli. But as long as we face them together, with respect, trust, and love, I believe we can handle anything. This bond we've built, it's stronger than any danger that may come our way." Nayeli smiled, feeling the truth in his words. She realized that life in the Wild West would always have uncertainties, but she no longer feared them. With Jackson by her side, she felt ready to face the unknown, with courage and hope. As the seasons changed, Nayeli and Jackson's relationship became a symbol of unity and strength for the village. Their partnership was admired not only for its romance, but for the way it bridged two worlds, Apache traditions, and the experience of an outsider who had come to understand, respect, and honor their way of life. Nayeli often thought about how rare it was to find someone who could respect her heritage while sharing her dreams for the future. Jackson had proven that love, trust, and patience could overcome cultural differences and build something lasting. One quiet evening, as the stars shimmered overhead, Nayeli and Jackson walked to a favorite spot near the riverbank. The moonlight reflected off the water, creating a silver path that seemed to stretch endlessly. Nayeli stopped, turning to face Jackson. "Jackson, I want to spend my life with you. Not just here, but wherever life takes us. Will you stay with me? Always? Jackson looked deeply into her eyes, feeling the weight and beauty of the moment. He held her hands gently, smiling with a mixture of love, pride, and certainty. Nayeli, I have promised to protect you, to respect you, and to stand by your side. Today, I promise to share my life with you, not just in this village, but wherever the future leads. We will face the world together, as partners, friends, and as a family. Tears of happiness filled Nayeli's eyes. She felt a sense of completion, of hope, and of unwavering trust. She realized that the love and bond they shared had been tested through challenges, strengthened by mutual respect, and now affirmed through commitment and choice. In Jackson, she had found not just a protector or friend, but a lifelong partner who valued her, honored her, and believed in the life they could create together. The villagers, noticing the growing closeness between Nayeli and Jackson, celebrated quietly but sincerely. Their partnership had brought more than romance, it had brought stability, courage, and a renewed sense of hope. Children looked up to them, learning that kindness, respect, and bravery were the truest forms of strength. Elders saw in their relationship a bridge between worlds, a proof that unity and understanding could flourish even in the unpredictable Wild West. Winter approached, bringing cold winds and occasional snow to the plains. Nayeli and Jackson worked together to ensure that everyone was prepared, storing food, reinforcing shelters, and keeping the animals safe. Through every challenge, they relied on each other, their bond deepening as they shared both responsibility and care. Nayeli often reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point, from curiosity and cautious admiration to deep trust and love. Jackson had proven time and again that he would stand by her side, through danger, uncertainty, and every trial life presented. One evening, as the snow fell gently over the village, Nayeli and Jackson sat by the fire inside her family's dwelling. The warmth of the flames reflected in their eyes as they spoke quietly about the future. "We have come far," Nayeli said softly, resting her head against Jackson's shoulder. "And yet, I feel that the best is still ahead of us." Jackson nodded, smiling. "The future will have its challenges, but I have no fear, Nayeli. With you, I feel ready for anything. Together, we can build a life full of love, hope, and purpose. The plains are wide, the world is vast, and I want to face it all with you, by my side." Nayeli felt a sense of peace wash over her. The adventures, the challenges, the moments of fear and courage they had all led to this understanding, this commitment, and this bond. She knew that life in the Wild West would never be simple. But with Jackson, every difficulty became an opportunity for growth, learning, and shared triumph. As the years passed, Nayeli and Jackson continued to live side by side, their lives intertwined in a partnership built on trust, love, and respect. The village flourished under their guidance and protection, and their story became one of inspiration and hope for generations to come. Nayeli never forgot the journey that had begun with curiosity and cautious observation. Nor did Jackson forget the lessons he had learned from her people. Together, they had created a life that honored both the past and the promise of the future. Standing on the hill overlooking the plains one crisp morning, Nayeli and Jackson held hands, feeling the wind on their faces and the warmth of the sun on their backs. "We did it, Jackson," Nayeli whispered, a smile on her lips. Jackson squeezed her hand gently. "Yes, Nayeli. Together, we did it. And together, we will face whatever comes next." In the vast, open landscape of the Wild West, their bond remained a beacon of hope, courage, and enduring love. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and cultural divides, yet through respect, trust, and commitment, they had built a life that was strong, meaningful, and full of promise. Nayeli and Jackson's story was a testament to the power of patience, understanding, and the human heart's capacity to connect, protect, and love across all boundaries.